I'm Vanessa Ruck, the girl on a bike. Welcome back to my workshop videos here on my channel. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at some tips and tricks for successfully changing your graphics on a motorcycle. Okay, so graphics on a motorbike are something that is a really easy way to give your bike a fresh new look. They make them look almost as good as new with beautiful fresh graphics. It also gives you the ability to give a bit more of a personal flair to the customization of your bike. For example, my beautiful desert bike KTM 450 rally replica that is behind me has got my logo, some of my sponsors, etc. Now, I have just finished the Africa Eco Race, a grueling 6,000 kilometer, 13-day race across Africa, finishing in Dakar. You can watch the full series on my channel. And as a result, poor Big Buddy is looking a little bit tired. The brutalities of the desert certainly take its toll on a motorcycle. I did have a few drops. That obviously causes some scratches and some pulls. And the people that help you refuel in these events often somehow manage to pour fuel all over the bike. And so by the end of a 13-day event, it's looking pretty tired. So I have got myself some new graphics, and I'm going to be changing the graphics during this video and giving you some tips and tricks on how to successfully do your graphics change. Now, first of all, how long do you need to change your graphics? That, sir, is how long is a piece of string? Totally depends on you, ma'am, and how long it is going to take you. So biggest thing I could say to there is it's going to take you longer than you think it's going to take. And also, with anything that takes a little bit of precision and care, having a time pressure is not an ideal thing for your stress levels. So give yourself a good couple of hours, maybe even a day of a buffer if you're going to be wanting to ride your bike, to make sure that you're not panicking over time and you're not suddenly in a position where you're wanting to ride your bike when you've only done half your graphics. When it comes to the condition of your motorcycle, you can, of course, put graphics onto a ridden bike that has some scratches and knocks in the plastics. But do be careful with how extreme the damage is to your plastics. Plastics that have some pretty severe scratches or scrapes in them, graphics can do a good job of covering some of this up, but sometimes you might see the scratches through the graphics, and also the graphics aren't going to seal smoothly on the surface, so it could be an opportunity for sand, dirt, water to ingress the back, which will jeopardize the stick of the graphics. So if your plastics are looking tired, it might be worth putting a new set of plastics onto your bike at the same time. Graphic kits can actually be quite expensive, so it's that weighing up the risk of them not sticking all that well. There are some tricks that I'm going to show you in this video that will optimize how well your graphics are going to stay on your bike though, so stay tuned. I have got 2 killer hacks in this video for the ultimate success in changing your graphics. Next up, what tools are you going to need? So I've laid out all the tools beside me, so let's run through those. You're obviously going to need your graphics kit. I have used Scrub Design. They are not an English company, they're actually over in Europe. I use them because they have the rights to the bike that I own. The KTM Rally Replica, which is a full factory rally bike. Not that many wrap companies have the rights to do the graphics for this bike, so that's why I've picked them. They're very reputable. Cheap graphics will often mean cheap graphics. So you get what you pay for. If you get super cheap ones, they're probably not going to be as hard wearing, as durable, as good a quality, not stay on the bike as long. So you might be buying twice instead of buying once and them lasting longer. So there's lots of options for companies to go for. You're then going to need some rags. I have got myself an old pillowcase. I'm going to probably cut that up and use that as a rag. A lint-free cloth. I've got a little stool that I'm going to use so that I don't hurt my back, and the bike is on a stand. Now, it's not essential that you have a stand for your bike, but it is one of those jobs where it's easier when you're working at eye height and so a stand is optimal. You might have seen on my social media channels in the run up to the Morocco Desert Challenge, I actually got pinned under Big Buddy trying to lift him onto a center stand. So you can see that I now have a big hydraulic lift that slides under and lifts him up, and I think this will take up to 350 kilos, so it's a good option. Quite cool. I can put my tools on my little stool and have them for later. So you're also going to need a heat gun. You can use a hairdryer. I know a lot of you guys have hairdryers in your drawers, so it could be that you use a hairdryer or a hot air gun. Be careful if you're using hot air guns because they are hot, very hot, and you don't want to melt your plastic, but this is a very good support for getting your plastics on perfectly bubble free and around the contours of the bike. That does lead me to one thing about the environment you're in. Graphics work better in more malleable temperatures, which means if you're doing it in the dead of winter in the ice cold, it's going to be considerably harder to get your graphics on well. A slightly warmer, certainly less windy and a non-dusty environment is going to be ideal. So I'm in my workshop at home, which probably looks a little bit chaotic, but it is a working workshop and I have a few bikes and a husband, so we try and keep it tidy. You're then going to need a pair of scissors. So I have my favourite scissors. They are Teng, they are so sharp, and a sharp knife. This is because, from my experience, I have never bought a set of motorbike graphics that actually 100% fit the bike. Let me know in the comments if you have. I always find there has to be some kind of modification. You're then going to need some brake cleaner for degreasing, some WD-40, this is one of my hacks, so I'll explain that, some paper towel or rag to help with the cleaning process. The degreasing and cleaning of the graphics is going to be very, very vital. And then you're going to need some time, some patience, and some enthusiasm. As a Brit, I would say tea will also help, but I haven't actually got a cup of tea to demonstrate that requirement. Now, if you enjoy my channel and feel like you get some energy and knowledge or just some plain entertainment from it, please let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to support me, please head over to my Patreon account. And there are a couple of options to support me, all the way down to as low as equivalent to a couple of coffees a month. And if you wanted to, you can also pay a little bit more and support me with my schools program. I've spoken to over 20,000 school children now, and it's my way of trying to give back to the communities and give schools some enthusiasm from a random person like me who's had a bit of a background from recovery and getting into motorcycles after being hit by a car. Anyway, back to the wrap. Oh goodness, I just clocked Big Buddy. He is looking very tired. So you can see here why he is in need of some new graphics. Now, these are all falling off because the rear fuel tank, the fuel has gone on it, it's come off, it stains, it changes the color, he's been in the desert. This is a very, very loved bicycle. He has had one careful lady owner from new, but he has done some of the most extreme desert races in the world. And again, those are on my channel if you want to watch the series. So what I'm going to do is start the process of changing the graphics on this bike. Now, every single piece of graphic is the same process. You're going to remove the old graphics, clean it with a couple of hacks I'm going to show you, and then apply the new graphics again with some hacks I'm going to show you. So I'm going to demonstrate it on a couple of the panels. I'm not going to bore you with me doing every single one of the probably 17 different panels on this bike, but hopefully it will give you some enthusiasm and some tips to take away and get your motorcycle looking sparkly and new at home. As always, if you've got any questions, get down in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. And also, if you do subscribe to my Patreon, I am now doing a Friday exclusive video where I will live on camera, it's terrifying by the way, open my little question box, which are questions submitted by my subscribers on Patreon, and answer questions live on camera with no pre-warning of what the question is going to be. Totally raw and unfiltered. So let's start with a panel. We can see there's a little bit of carnage mess here, so I'm going to start pulling this off. That is how desperately he needed new graphics. Okay, so this one isn't coming off quite as easily, What you can do is use a little bit of heat, and that helps warm up the glue and enable it to come off a little bit more easily. Now, I've got an Africa Eco Race Dakar logo on there, so I want to try and keep this. So I'm going to use a little bit of heat. It might not come off, but if it does come off, I will add him to my wall of race memorabilia. So you can see how with a tiny bit of heat, that glue is just going nice and soft and coming straight off. Oh yeah, it's a little bit cut, but I'm going to put him on my wall over here. I should put him, you can put him there for now, because the glue is warm, he's stuck straight on. Okay, right. Pulling it off. So we now have a little bit of a mess. There is gooey glue all over that, absolutely horrible. Now, a lot of people recommend using some kind of alcohol to break down the cleaner. I have a hack for you, and that is WD-40, and that is where my rag is going to come into play. So I'm gonna grab my pillow, cut up a lump of rag. So I'm just spraying the WD-40 onto the glue and letting it soak in a little bit. Good thing is WD-40 is not going to hurt your bike. Just don't get it on your brakes. So let's speed this up. You don't need to watch me scrub. You're going to have to scrub for a little while to get all that glue off. Okay, the worst of the glue is off. I would at this point recommend getting a cleaner cloth, so maybe dedicate one to being the most disgusting and one to being like slightly fresher, and give it a bit more of a once over. You want to make sure that all of that previous glue is off. We need to degrease it. Now, some people would do the whole bike, strip the whole bike, clean, degrease the whole bike. The challenge is we are greasy as humans, so I would recommend doing it panel by panel. Yes, you could take it all off and get it to this point, but the final degrease per panel I would do literally just as you are putting those graphics on. So I have got some brake cleaner, voila, and we are going to be applying this. A lint-free cloth is the best recommendation to go along with this, because you don't want to leave any bits of fluff on it, and you're going to want to really make sure you're getting all of the grease off that panel. Now, if you've got a brand new bike, bear in mind a lot of new bikes have already been sprayed with a silicone spray, so the degrease is important no matter what age your graphics are. Next up, you're going to get your graphics. So I better open up my kit. It's in here. I'm just going to use the knife down the side. So scrubs always come with tiny little bits of tape that hold them all flat in postage. I'd recommend keeping some of them aside because they can be quite handy in a minute. Oh, I'm having a blonde moment. It's all good. They're there. Just the number's missing because it goes across the line of the tank. So something I've done is, because I was devastated to have to take the Africa Eco Race sticker off, I've had it integrated into the design of my sticker. So it goes like that. Not the best design, but this is where you can see your fuel line. So it cuts the tank. So I found it. It's that bit I haven't found. And that bit was probably right in front of me. But anyway. Pony noises. I found it. So I've got 3 bits that I'm going to do first. They're all here. I am degreased. It's so smooth. I'm going to degrease it again now because I've touched it. Okay, next up, you are going to need your socks. You're actually not. Some people have special foam little pads that they use to put graphics on, but a hack is that you can use a nice sock and a credit card. This is going to enable you to have a soft edge to use against the graphic, so you're not going to scratch it, and that's going to enable you to put pressure onto the wrap as you go. So you're going to have your graphic. If you want to support yourself with a couple of the little bits of tape, obviously you can use any tape to hold it in place. You're going to get yourself in position, have your sock handy, your heat gun handy, and then we're going to start applying it. Now I obviously just touched it because I am a grubby little fingered mitted, so I'm going to degrease it again. I just wanted the smell of more degreaser, that's honest it. So there we go. Degreased, nice and clean. Keep that somewhere so it's not going to get dirty, and then I'm going to get my... So you're going to align it with the key areas of the bike where it has to be in the right place. So you can see that line going all the way up there is pretty definitive. And I'm going to just pop some tape on there to hold it. This is my least favourite bit because the alignment is probably the most important bit. And it's very slidey. Okay, and then that's going to go up to there. One more bit of tape at the top. That's going to hold it roughly in place. That just gives you a little bit of support. Once you get onto the bigger panels, that's really, really important. Then without touching the back, you're going to peel the back off. And I recommend doing this in sections. And again, it's that alignment piece which is critical. Just going to lightly put it in place. And you want to start from the middle and work your way out. I'm just lightly doing it to make sure everything is still lining up. So I've decided I want to move over a tiny bit. You have got a little bit of leeway to apply it on and off. I'm using my nail on the back so that I don't put grease on it. I only lightly put it on so you can pull it a tiny bit and move it over. And I want to slide this way over a tiny bit more, just to get that as a straighter line going up there. And I'm going to tape it on this edge. And then as you go, you're going to pull the back off and lay it down. Starting at the middle and working your way to the edges. A beautiful thing about the Scrubs graphics is it's got all these checkers, which means it makes it a lot easier to not get bubbles because it has slits all the way around it. So fingers crossed, I shouldn't get any bubbles. And that's going on really nicely. And a little bit of warmth helps set the glue onto the bike. And also get your contours. So by warming up the plastic and the glue, it's going to go around here a lot more easily and hold on. So I want 2 hands to do the job. You can see it's just starting to curl a teeny bit. That means there's enough glue, and then I'm going to just gradually work my way up the edge, applying pressure. If you apply too much heat, it can stretch and warp the plastics, so be careful not to apply too much heat. And that has gone on perfectly. Okay, so crack on. Next piece. I could take the seat off, but I feel like I've got enough clearance, so I'm not going to. So happy with that. Final little degrease. So So you always want to be keeping an eye on all areas of where the graphics is going, because it's very easy to be so focused here that you forget where the last bit's going. So just keep looking back to bigger picture as you go, and you hopefully won't then get caught out by the opposite end. So I'm now pulling this back. It's looking good. Right, I'm going to whip the whole thing off, and that's where my tape comes quite handy, because it gives me something to hold that isn't the graphic. And then my sock. Lots of pressure to set the glue. Boom, boom! Beautiful. Right, cracking on. This is where graphics are never perfect, because for this corner to work it needs to be here, but then it's wrong down there. And there's no way that could have come higher because it would have overlapped. So this is where graphics are never purpose. And you can see the number isn't quite lining up fully. And I can't come lower here because it will conflict here. So I'm going to make an executive decision on the best location and go with there. You beauty! Big buddy, you look so sexy. So sticky. Okay, so this is a good example of one where you've got multiple things you need to be mindful of as you go. And there's also going to be some contouring going on in this one. And some stretching, because it doesn't fit. Okay, well, this is a really good example of bike graphics never fitting a bike. I've got a bit of a conundrum because I have to take my bike somewhere tomorrow. I think I'm going to have to just go for it on this one, unfortunately, and just commit because it don't fit. So what I'm going to do is do it slightly in section. So one thing you can do is take the back off in parts. And seeing as there's a natural break. And then I'm going to have to get this all the way down to that hole. Okay, that wasn't too horrific a stretch, but I've now got to get it in to the hole. So starting in the middle. I always promise you very real videos, and this is a real video of a graphics kit that doesn't 100% fit the bike, which is my always experience. So an example of how you get around it is adding a little bit of stretch. Once it's on, it will be more obvious that you'll be able to see the stretch because the holes, slits here are very fine. You can see they're slightly wider, white gaps here, and that's where I've applied that stretch. And that's where the beauty of the heat gun really helps. So I'm going to need a little bit more heat here to get it around this corner, because this is the maximum stretch zone. But being careful not to apply too much heat, because I don't want it to warp too much. Oh, this is devastating. Yeah, the concentration face actually makes you more efficient. So this is a solid panel. It doesn't have all of the checker. The checker is so that the glue works on a tank, because the fuel does come through the plastic on a tank. So that enables you to have graphics that stick to the tank. And this is a fairing, so it doesn't need to have the perforated wrap. I think it's going to be easier if I take my saddle off for this one. Oh. There we go. We are making pretty good progress. Buddy is starting to look very fresh and beautiful. I really hope this video has been helpful, giving you maybe a little bit more confidence to go out and sort your graphics out. Let me know any questions in the comments. I'm Vanessa Ruck. Thanks for watching.